The Ottawa REDBLACKS and the Saskatchewan Roughriders.
Starting quarterback for the Ottawa REDBLACKS, Henry Burris, 101 wins in his CFL career. Has a winning record against the Saskatchewan Roughriders at 13-11-1. For Tino Sunseri, it is his second start. The first didn't go so well in Hamilton. A loss to the Hamilton Tiger Cats, where he was just 9 of 21. Needs to play better this afternoon.
As Corey Chamberlain's Riders had a 7-game win streak halted in Hamilton. A win today, the Riders move into sole possession of second place in the West. Rick Campbell's REDBLACKS hit the reset button after the bye. They look to end a 7-game losing skid, looking for their first road win and their first win against the West in their inaugural season. Second meeting of the year. 38-14 was the score back in July in Ottawa. Jamil Smith picks it up, does some dancing, and gets stopped before he crosses the 25-yard line.
Take a look at the starters to watch for the REDBLACKS, starting with Henry Burris, who is yet to throw for over 300 yards in the season as the starting quarterback for the REDBLACKS. Jarrell McCullough is going to be up against John Chick or Ricky Foley this afternoon. We'll watch that matchup. And no Siobhan Walker. He's injured, so the starting tailback will be DJ Harper.
Our starters to watch brought to you by Napa Auto Parts, where custom advice comes standard. Three receivers wide side. They go the other way, and DJ Harper is up across the 30-yard line.
Take a look at the starters to watch for Saskatchewan. Roughriders been real impressed with Brian Peters last week against Hamilton, all over the field. Career high 8 tackles for him. Tristan Jackson playing well at corner, but also in the return game. Has 3 interceptions this season, and John Chick is in a bit of a slump. Just 1 quarterback sack over the last 4 games for the rush end for the Riders.
5 for Harper, who replaces Siobhan Walker out the rest of the year with a broken arm. 2nd and 5, over the middle, open man, and a completion to Marcus Henry for the first down.
Standing possession receiver this year for Henry Burris. He's just going to come in here and just sit down in the open area, and Burris just waits for him to, again, find that soft spot for a 9-yard gain, move the chains, and try and take the crowd out of it early.
Marcus Henry 6th in the league in catches and receiving yards. That's his 52nd down conversion catch. First down Ottawa at the 39. Back in the hands of Harper. And up to around the 43-yard line. DJ Harper's been with the REDBLACKS since the outset of the year. Celebrates his 25th birthday here in Regina.
Yeah, he's got touches in 3 games, but just one. Just one rushing play for him, coming in 3 consecutive games. And he plays for Siobhan Walker this afternoon. He's got great speed out of Boise State.
We expect to see Jeremiah Johnson at the running back spot too. 2nd and 7, short drop, quick hit, and another completion, and first down catch. And again, it's Marcus Henry.
Well, I tell you what, Henry Burris threads the needle here. He doesn't have a very big opening to get it to Henry. And Henry's going to just run that little out, but he's covered pretty well inside and from the outside in as he tries to run the out. You got the corner sitting outside on it. Gets a 13-yard gain when Henry Burris threads the needle.
Ottawa with only 21 first-quarter points in their 7 losses. They had 21 first-quarter points in their opening game. Harper again on first down. Great production into the secondary and finally dragged down at the Roughrider 30. What a burst for DJ Harper. He rambles 25 yards on a first down.
Basically zone blocking for the offensive line. Just take that step and the off-color jersey as they go from right to left. Just slide across, take whoever's up front, big on big, and DJ Harper finds that opening, and he shoots the gap in a hurry. Got that great open speed as a junior at Boise State. He ran a 4.34 in the 40.
New right tackle Colin Kelly out of Oregon State helped spring him. Back inside, short gain, Macho Harris closes the door. Colin Kelly out of Oregon State is the right tackle and was groomed by Mike Riley, the former Canadian Football League head coach with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers.
They're still trying to sort out what will be the best combination up front in Ottawa. Rick Campbell likes Jarrell McCullough at left tackle and give Colin Kelly a shot at the right side.
Riley Taylor has checked into the Roughriders defense at the end spot. 2nd and 9, and flags fly. Kim Murphy in charge of proceedings here this afternoon.
Procedure. Ottawa, number 85. 5-yard penalty, remains 2nd down.
Matt Carter. And it's pushed back 5.
Ottawa sort of, Chris, in the middle of the pack when it comes to penalties, averaging around 100 yards a game. They haven't been in the red zone very often over the last few. They need to get there and finish this drive.
168 yards in penalties the first meeting against Saskatchewan. Only 30 in their last game against BC. Big pressure. John Chick gets home. He's back. Just his 2nd sack in the last 5 games. A league leading 14th on the year.
Gets in that sprinter stance. And John Chick down low center of gravity, get good leverage out there on Colin Kelly as he steps up the field, swats his hands away and gets to Henry Burris. That was a race between he and Terrius George.
Big sack knocks the REDBLACKS out of field goal range. So Brett Maher will come in to punt and look for the corner with Tristan Jackson back. And that one, he lost in the sun and it bounced off the grill. And fortunately for the Roughriders, out of bounds. So Dino Sinceri, his first possession in his first start at home, upcoming. He'll start from inside the 10 when we come back to Mosaic. Well, we've seen him in a relief role against BC and Winnipeg. His first start in Hamilton last week generated just 88 yards through the air. See if the energy at Mosaic helps Tino Sinceri as he hands the ball off, and we'll try and establish the ground game with Anthony Allen.
Yeah, start number 2 went just 9 of 21 in Hamilton, so he's got to improve that passing game. Looked a little reluctant in that game to pull the trigger. Will Ford wasn't in the lineup against the Hamilton Tiger Cats. He is this afternoon, and Levi Adcock will play left tackle, a late addition when Xavier Fulton was a cut because of the flu.
Drill Messam checks in. 2nd and 6. And they're going to be stopped short. So they try to establish the ground game against the 9th-ranked run defense, but Jasper Simmons with a tackle, and it's a 2-and-out. Roughriders started 2-and-out on their opening 2 possessions last week.
Yeah, I talked to the coaching staff of Ottawa, and they said this is going to be the goal. They know that's a young quarterback. They want to try and get him in 2nd and long and stop the run. They've got to be better against the run. They know it, and this is the goal in this game this afternoon for Rick Campbell.
So Milo into a slight breeze. Ottawa with the wind advantage in this first half. Here's Jamel Smith with a flag as he gets down to the 41-yard line. 40-yard punt, 14 on the return, and we'll await the flag. But no yards against the Roughriders would be a 15-yarder and a return of about the same length.
No yards. Saskatchewan, number 16. 15-yard penalty. 1st down.
So great field position, a rare start for the REDBLACKS in enemy territory. Henry Burris in enemy territory. He'll lead the REDBLACKS back out when we come back. Oh, Darian Durant was hurt in the Banjo Bowl. There was a suggestion that Henry Burris might just be the guy to replace him. But number 1 says this is his only visit to Saskatchewan this year.
Yeah, I talked to the Ottawa REDBLACKS coaching staff, and they're not interested in moving Henry Burris. doesn't make any sense for them. They're still in the playoff hunt in the East.
This is the 11th start of the year. Oh, nice fake, and he's got a man out of the backfield. And it's Alex Krosnick. What's he doing down there?
How about the big man just rumbling down those sidelines and lowering his shoulder a little bit? That gets his teammates pumped up.
We saw Eric Harris for Hamilton score a touchdown earlier this year, and well, you got the bye week, you got plenty of time to design some gadget plays like this.
Well, he plays tight end. He's going to look like he's going to block and then just escape down the sideline here. I don't know that you can surprise him by tippy-toeing or sneaking past the defender when you're that size, but how about that where he just takes on Tyron Brackenridge.
Ran over Brackenridge. Take that, Dan Clark. And now Burris scrambling out. He'll run. Touchdown, Henry Burris. His first touchdown run since last year's Grey Cup game.
All right, Riders come with the safety blitz. They love to send this pressure from Tyron Brackenridge, who just got run over. He's coming off the right side of your screen, and he misses the tackle on Burris. Runs past him. That gives Burris a chance to escape. Bails out of the left side of the formation and gets the Red Blacks on the board.
So just the 11th time they've started in enemy territory this year, and it didn't take them long to punch it in. An unlikely offensive hero, Alex Krosnick, says, get out of the way. He's 39 yards and a Henry Burris touchdown after this play that'll get talked about.
Tyron Brackenridge, one of the big hitters in the league from that safety spot, and he gets trucked by Krosnick.
Are you saying there's a new Canuck truck?
Maybe. That was a pretty good catch for the big man, too. Go up and get it. Not wait for it to hit him in the stomach, but pulls it down and runs over Brackenridge.
290-pounder. Tristan Jackson on the return. Had a big missed field goal return in the first meeting against Ottawa.
Well, Chris, you got to wonder if Brackenridge was a little bit rattled from that hit. I mean, he came up to try and hit Alex Krosnick, gets trucked, and then he comes on the blitz on the very next play and runs right past Henry Burris. I mean, we've seen him come in here and just do all kinds of damage on this safety blitz throughout the season, and he just runs by him high. Burris allowed to escape and get in the end zone.
So we'll see what the young quarterback can do in response. Third straight play, they hand the football off. And to the outside goes Anthony Allen. He'll step out at the 27.
Take a look at the starters to watch for the Red Blacks on defense. Again, the former Rider, Keith Sholigan, back in the middle. That will help with their run defense, and that's on the shoulders of Travis Brown, the middle linebacker. And you know what? Your best players have got to be your best players and make those plays. Javon Johnson has not been that guy, and he's a former Defensive Player of the Year.
4 for Allen, 2nd and 6. First pass, and it's complete. See if it's short of the first down. Antoine Pernod with the quick stop on Weston Dressler, who has his 10th catch.
The issue for Tino Sunseri was his timing, and he was just reluctant in Hamilton. Now, early on in that game, he threw an interception. It may have rattled him a little bit, and he was just a little more reluctant as the game went on to get the ball out of his hands. He said he's worked on that all week long, his timing with the receivers.
So first down to Dressler, a 7-yard pickup, and handoff inside for Allen. Another former Rider, Zach Evans, in the middle of that defensive line for Ottawa.
He's got a great resume. He was poised and composed in the loss in Hamilton, even though he didn't play very well. And he'll tell you he didn't play very well, but look at the resume. 16-0 season in 07 with Pittsburgh.
Sideline, please.
Started 39 games, almost, well, over 85,000 passing yards. Puts him at the top of that school.
7 yards fewer.
8,500 passing yards, yep.
7 yards fewer than Dan Marino at the same school. Over the middle, Dressler with a nice catch. That'll help the young quarterback's confidence. And another first down, back-to-back. First down catches for Dressler. And 13 for the Riders.
West and Dressler on the crossing route. Has to go around the umpire. Sinceri looks on the mark.
Will Ford in the backfield. It's Allen coming around on the sweep into red-black territory, down to the Ottawa 53 and a pickup of 7.
Take a look at his all-time passing yards at Pitt. And there is Dan Marino, as you mentioned, Chris. 85-97, and just behind him, Tino Sinceri at 85-90. Second best passing season. Rob Rutherford has the #1 passing season at Pitt.
Watman and Messam, the tight ends, on 2nd and 3. Allen off the left side. It'll be a first down.
Talked to him at warm-up, Tino Sinceri at warm-up, and he said, you know, I expected him to be a little bit nervous. You know, I expected him to be a little bit rattled from his first start in Hamilton and how it went, and just didn't show any of that at all. I mean, he was standing there talking with great confidence. He feels like he knows what he did wrong in Hamilton. He knows what, and they worked on it all week, what he'd like to change for this game this afternoon, and his accuracy looks better, and so does his timing so far.
Said there was some nervous energy, and his coach thought there was some rust last week. With play action fake, he'll take off himself. We didn't see that last week. It's a run for first down from Sinceri. 15-yard scamper.
You know, this is that ride to the side, and Darian Durant's made a living off of this kind of running play and pressing the edge, but Tino Sinceri really didn't do this against the Hamilton Tiger-Cats. What I mean by it is he didn't keep it. He gave the ball away every time on the run. You got to keep it every now and then just to keep the defense honest. He picks up 15 yards.
First down, Saskatchewan, red-black 35. Sinceri looks one way, he'll take off, and Shulligan was there, along with Kalonji Kashama. So maybe a yard and a half to 2. And he took a pretty good hit on the play as well.
Just didn't like what he saw to the play side. One of the things that the Riders worked on this week is cutting the field in half for him, simplifying a little bit.
Ninth play of the drive. Throws the out, and it's incomplete. Intended for Taj Smith. Javon Johnson was in the vicinity defensively.
What I mean by that is they were in practice having one side of the receiving corps run their routes, and to have Tino Sinceri read that side alone. So basically simplify the reads for him. He's not looking at the entire field, just looking at one side at a time. That's why he took off and run on that play he just got hit on a couple plays ago. He looked to the right side, didn't like it, and his next reaction was to take off, put it under his arm, trying to get what he can.
Successful drive that started deep in Rough Rider territory, and now Milo on to attempt a 40-yard field goal. And Milo hits for the 9th time in 12 attempts from 40 or beyond. And the Rough Riders are on the board. 7-3 REDBLACKS late first quarter. Drive engineered by Tino Sinceri. With more on the young Rider quarterback, here's Lee Jones.
Well, after his starting debut in Hamilton, Tino Sinceri called his father, Sal Sinceri, after the game, who is a coach. In fact, he coaches at Florida State University, and asked for some advice on what he needs to do. They talked about mechanics. They talked about maybe some of the things that he saw as a quarterback. Tino mentioned that because his dad is a coach in football, that he was extremely tough on him growing up, and because of that, he feels it made him a better football player and a more humble football player, which allowed him to be successful during his time in Pittsburgh. Guys?
Dad breaking down the tape.
Yeah. Giving him a whole bunch of coaching points. His dad is coached at LSU, Michigan State, Alabama, now at Florida State. So Sal's coaching him up.
There's Jamel Smith. Oh, big collision at the 30-yard line. Huge hit for Shamari Williams.
He's got the straight run, and Smith has been running straight north-south on his return so far. Shamar Williams steps right into him. Gets right through that wedge, trying to be set up by the Red Blacks. Williams breaks up that wedge and drops Smith.
Flag down, looks like Saskatchewan was offside where they drawn off. Real quick jump from Hailey Taylor, looked like the right end, and now they're debating whether he was offside or drawn.
Offside, Saskatchewan, number 59. 5-yard penalty, remains first down.
So it is Taylor, 7 games last year with the Roughriders.
Yeah, he knew first. McCullough reacted off his movement.
First and 5. Out of the backfield. Pass intended for Jeremiah Johnson. Incomplete. So there's the former Argo who had 15 catches with Toronto earlier this year. The intended target on that pass.
Yeah, they got to find the answer, Ottawa does, for their run game with Siobhan Walker on the shelf. Maybe it be both Jeremiah Johnson and DJ Harper in rotation.
Walker's 7th in the league in yards from scrimmage, 23% of the Red Black offense. 2nd and 5. The out will skip short of Wallace Miles. Incomplete.
That one's on Henry Burris. Miles, who has been a reliable receiver of late. In their last game, 4 catches. And if Henry Burris puts this ball on him, he's certainly shown us that he's still got the arm strength over the year, even though he struggled offensively. And he just won hop sack to Miles.
Weston Dressler is back this time as Maher gets set to punt. And Dressler from his 20. And nearly got away up at the 27-yard line. Weston Dressler dragged Tez.
Yeah. I hear
Flexed
you.
its muscles. 4th straight win this afternoon for the East against the West. Justin Capicotti snuffing that play out, and Anthony Allen does well just to get back close to the line of scrimmage.
Capicotti reads this well because he's going to see the down block here, and when he sees the down block, he squeezes it and then steps up, and he's going to be in the backfield in about a step or two. Just squeeze it down in there, take that hole away, step up and play it. That's fundamentally sound football off the edge.
Should be the final play of the first quarter. Passing situation. They're going to try and screen it. Read well by the Red Blacks. And that one not going anywhere. That little dump pass to Anthony Allen, but surrounded there. And it will be a 2-and-out.
Travis Brown got there in a hurry, and right now, of course, the difference for Tino Sinceri in this game as opposed to Hamilton is the guy that he'll be able to talk to after every series. That's Darian Durant. Will be down on the sideline with Sinceri. Now, I had talked with him about maybe having Darian Durant in the spotter's booth. Clearly, since that discussion in the warm-up, he has decided to have that help and just a guy to talk to, an extra set of eyes on the sideline.
Milo's boot. Jamil Smith fielding. Just inside his 50. The cover team gets down there in a hurry. Sam Hurl gets the special team tackle.
See how Jamil Smith, after that hit he took from Shamari Williams, he didn't go more south than his first 3 steps on that last return. He caught it and took about 3 or 4 side steps to look at who was coming down the field.
Hurl had 3 special team tackles last week in Hamilton. But good field position for Henry Burris here in the final minute of the opening quarter. They'll start at the Red Black 50. A little hitch there, goes over the head of Khalil Payton, the intended target.
Meanwhile, see what happens here on second down. This is Darian Durant down there. Now working with the young quarterback in his second start. Just basically give him the confidence. Believe what you see. Don't worry about it. Go back. That screen pass didn't work. Go back to it later in the game.
Jeremiah Johnson back in at running back. 2nd and 10. And over the middle, pass caught. It will be short of the first down. Macho Harris there defensively. Marcus Henry has another catch. See where they give him forward progress. It's going to be 3rd, and it looks like a yard as the first quarter comes to a conclusion. Rick Campbell will have a decision to make. He got off to a quick start here in the opening 15 minutes. A touchdown run for Henry Burris. It's 7-3 Redblacks. Over after the opening quarter when Saskatchewan built a 24-0 lead. Different game.
Well, good news for the Riders is that Tino Sunseri looks better in this game. Only 22 yards passing in the first quarter, but he looks better. Timing is there. And good news for the Redblacks is they're out rushing a running football team in Saskatchewan in that first quarter. They've got their run going. And remember, the Riders have rushed for well over 100 yards in every game but one this year. That was against Ottawa.
Didn't really have to run in that game. The 3 losses for the Roughriders, in each of them, they've been outrushed by their opponents. So that's a good sign for Ottawa, but pretty early as they look at 3rd and 1 and send out the punt team to start this second quarter. And Maher with a little running boot and bounces this one down, and Tristan Jackson is going to let it roll into the end zone. So happy to concede the Rouge. It's a 59-yard single for Brent Maher.
There's a veteran return man in Tristan Jackson making the right decision, standing on the 10-yard line. The ball bounces deeper than the 10. You let it go in the end zone, give up the single to get the field position. We've seen returners make the mistake in that way too many times this year.
So much focus on the young quarterback last week, but let's be honest, the entire team and Corey Chamberlain talked about it. That was a 3-phase loss last week in Hamilton. Got the win now in this second quarter. And that rushing game has been tough to establish here against the Redblacks, who held BC to 80 yards rushing in the last game they played a couple of weeks ago.
Well, that was a good game defensively, and that 7-5 loss to the BC Lions. Ottawa's Mark Nelson had a good defensive game plan set up, and I talked to him before this one, and I said, okay, coach, and he goes, before you ask, we got to stop the run.
Free for Allen, so it's 2nd and 7. Sunseri under pressure, dancing, and Jasper Simmons will bring him down short of the first down at around the 43-yard line.
How short is he here? Because with the running game that Saskatchewan has, do they...
Yard and a half.
No, it's too far. They're going to send in the punt team. Good decision by Corey Chamberlain. If it's inside that yard, you'd think he'd trust his all-star offensive line and running game and go and get that 1 yard and move the chains, but he's going to kick it away. It's over a yard.
3 2-and-outs in 4 possessions for the Roughriders. Milo booting it to Jamil Smith. And this one is going to bounce out just inside the 20-yard line. It's a 5-point Ottawa lead here at Mosaic.
3 receivers on that last second down play for Tino Sunseri. I just want to show you in Hamilton, he wasn't pulling the trigger and hesitating. Go ahead and run it, guys. And he had open receivers. On this play on second down, he does it all covered down, and that's why he pulls it down and runs with the football. That's a different reason for why he wasn't pulling the trigger last week.
Redblacks starting at the 20, and now they're backed up inside the 15-yard line. Terrius George has the second sack of the game for the Roughriders. 8th sack for the big defensive tackle on the year.
John Chick sack. Terrius George was racing him and got there a split second later. And this time he wins the race. He works right across the face. Nolan McMillan.
Second and 15. Burris has some time and skips the pass short. Intended for Payton once again.
The veteran is having some accuracy issues in Henry Burris. Late flag there in the backfield. Behind
Major foul, roughing the passer. Saskatchewan number 59. 15 yards, automatic first down.
So that's the second penalty against Tylee Taylor in this first half.
Let's take a look at Tylee Taylor and why he gets this penalty. Gets blocked down and then goes low on Henry Burris. And well after the ball was thrown.
Gives the Redblacks a fresh set of downs. Let it go. Down the sidelines, open man. Carlton Mitchell is into Rough Rider territory at the Saskatchewan 50.
Well, I was mentioning that Henry Burris, the veteran's having some accuracy issues. His last 3 throws before this one, low to receivers. This one, better. Carlton Mitchell catches that just in front of him. He's still running.
Throw a rope. Rod Williams looked like he bit on the fake. 30-yard pickup, first down. And to the sidelines, a 5-yard catch. As Mitchell has back-to-back grabs, he takes the spot of Dobson Collins in the Red-Black offense.
Henry Burris is trying to exercise some demons. The last time he was here at Mosaic, it wasn't a very good day for him. It was a great cut. His Hamilton Tiger Cats didn't play very well offensively. So Burris returns, wants to get that memory out of his mind for playing here at Mosaic. A little bit of some accuracy issues, but he's got him rolling now.
Second and 5. Steps up, and the pass is complete, and it will be a first down. Marcus Henry been the payoff guy on those second down plays all year long, and here again at Mosaic this afternoon.
Love the decision here. A couple things for Henry Burris. Keeps his composure and steps up when he sees an opening, but his eyes up and looking for that open receiver. Rather than try and run it, take a hit, he finds Henry, and as Brian Peters reacts to go tackle him, he throws it off to his receiver. Decision on the run.
Well, they will measure to confirm it is a first down, and it is just inside the Rough Rider 40-yard line. Henry to Henry has been the most reliable combination for Ottawa this year. That's the second down conversion catch for Marcus Henry on the day. Only one 30-yard play for Marcus Henry, and it came in week 1. He's in motion. First down, Ottawa. Little fake, and another catch for, well, that's Wallace Miles with the grab just inside the 30. It'll be close to another first down. And this may require a measurement.
Wallace Miles here is going to play off of Marcus Henry. Marcus Henry went in motion, and he drew some coverage to him. Miles just sat down in front of the corner out there, Rod Williams.
It is a first down, so Ottawa driving after the roughing the passer penalty against Tylee Taylor. Redblacks have thrown 10 consecutive passes since their touchdown on the Henry Burris run for a major. LeBlanc in motion. Take the swing pass, and Burris dancing to buy some time. Unloads into the end zone. And they're broken up at the last second. A recovery for Weldon Brown, intended for Wallace Miles.
First of all, Burris has a target coming out. Now, I think he's not sure that his running back is going to be able to pick up the first down. So he elects not to go to this running back out in the flat. He is open initially. Checks that down, wants to take it deep, gets the protection he needs up front. He has some time to throw it. It's a tough throw to make, moving to his left and trying to throw it that deep to Wallace Miles on the other side.
Second and 10. Short drop pass in behind, but Mitchell makes a nice catch. He'll have 9, and Rick Campbell will have another decision.
Let's take a look. He's wanting to make sure he knows exactly how far it is. It looks like by the marking it's a long yard. They're going to kick the field goal. You know, this red-black team has had the lead in 8 of 10 games. They have been close. Talking to the coaching staff at warm-up, they said that we probably should have won 3 more this season so far. Just got to finish.
Edmonton, Hamilton, and the BC game. They're going to fake it here. 3rd 2. Backs in motion. Danny O'Brien, does he get there? Got a decent surge off the right side. And it looks like they've got enough for a first down. Well, we saw this early in the year with Thomas DeMarco.
Yeah.
DeMarco hurt now, and Rick Campbell deploying Danny O'Brien in a similar circumstance to get a fresh set of downs.
And one of the reasons that it's a good idea to use your backup quarterback as the holder on field goals, because now he can just get up off that one knee and get back up under center and either go ahead and run that quarterback sneak like he does there, or even throw it.
Second time into the score zone. 1st and 10. Burris throwing it underneath, and a big hit there by Weldon Brown on DJ Harper.
Again, another one of those situations that Henry Burris puts the defensive secondary to bind when he gets outside and runs, because whoever's in coverage back there, he's not sure if you should come up, Rod Williams, and tackle the quarterback, or should you stay back on your guy, which is DJ Harper, and Harper does a nice job keeping his foot in bounds.
Mentioned they've converted in the red zone, which is once they're down inside the 20. First touchdown from the red zone since August the 9th. And now they look at 2nd and 1. That's Keith Shulligan in the backfield, and they'll plunge ahead for the first down, but they got a lot of things happening right now, don't they?
Well, they had the bye week, so a lot of time to draw up a lot of different plays. We've seen Alex Krosnick, an offensive lineman, play tight end. We've seen now Keith Shulligan in the backfield as a fullback. So Mike Gibson, the offensive coordinator for Ottawa, was getting creative in the bye week. The nation's capital. Let's get some of the big men involved in our offense.
12th play of the drive coming up, but again, extended early on by a roughing the passer penalty. First and goal. And Burris is dropped back at the 12. This time Trevor Guyton gets home.
Now this is a 3rd play in a row that Henry Burris has had a back, and if he gets it to him quickly, something good might happen for Ottawa. It's a 3rd play in a row. This time I believe it's DJ Harper lined up right beside him. Now if he gives Harper the ball now, hold it there, guys. He gives it to him now. He's got a guy in front of him, a guy that can turn and block. You got to play there. Chad Kilger's trying to get there, and it's the 3rd time in a row that Burris has elected to let that back go and not give him the football.
Guyton's 3rd sack. He replaces Derek Walker, who's missing for the first time. 2nd and goal. Burris, a lot of steamboats, dancing, now throws, touchdown. Wallace Miles, as Henry Burris bought enough time for the touchdown strike.
Wallace Miles has to keep working, and he does, to find an open area. Burris continues to extend the play with his legs. He's putting Rider defense in a bind because every time he scrambles like this, now defensive backs and linebackers are frozen. They're not sure if they should come up and tackle him or if they should stay back in coverage. Miles keeps working and finds an open area.
Third touchdown of the year for Wallace Miles, the 7th touchdown pass for Burris.
How many times, Chris, have we seen a play extended like that by the quarterback where the offensive line draws a holding call? Good job by the guys up front for Ottawa not to get a holding call when Burris is bouncing around.
13 plays, 90 yards, and a Wallace Miles touchdown, expanding the REDBLACKS lead. It's 15-3 here at Mosaic.
Ottawa moves Wallace Miles inside. He's going to run it out here, but then when Burris scrambles, he moves up the field and then comes back to the hole. You're going to lose him for a second to the left side of your screen here, but he's going to run the out. And Burris is not ready to throw then. He's open initially. Now he goes up the field, comes back, and as the secondary for the Riders are looking at Burris.
I love you, Grandma, Mary, Grandma Francis. I love y'all.
Miles finds an opening.
Just the second touchdown pass thrown by Burris in 5 weeks. Great return for Tristan Jackson to provide Tino Sinceri with terrific field position. 39 on the return. Saskatchewan football when we come back. Saskatchewan Roughrider Keith Shulligan's missed the last 2 for the REDBLACKS, but back for his return to Mosaic with more. Here again, Lee Jones.
Keith Shulligan admitted it was a bit emotional considering coming off injury and being back at Mosaic Stadium where he won a Grey Cup last year, but he says the preseason game here helped a little bit in his emotions, should be okay there. He also talked about the fact that when the expansion draft came, Keith Shulligan wasn't even in the country when he found out that he was selected by Ottawa. He was in Austria, where his wife's family is from. Nevertheless, he's enjoying his time right now in Ottawa. That's why he re-signed this season, guys.
Errant pass by Sinceri that was almost picked off by Abdul Kanay.
Yeah, Kanay reacted a little bit late to the ball, but that was sort of in between receivers. Just a missed throw there. And Keith Shulligan has helped in a big, big way stopping the run early in this game this afternoon. His return missed a couple of games due to injury.
Also good defense for the REDBLACKS is keeping the Roughriders off the field. That last drive for Ottawa, 7 minutes, 23 seconds. 2nd and 10. Sinceri, Dressler, and incomplete. Looked like it was broken up on a good close by the youngster, Antoine Bruneau, who got a fingertip on the football, I think.
Yes, he did. The ball is there. The throw is there, and so is the receiver. He's wide open, but Antoine Bruneau is getting there. He keeps working at it, doesn't give up on the play, tracks the football, and I believe he does get a little piece of this to knock it out of the air. There's a guy that's come on and someone that they can build this defense around. 35 tackles. He's got a sack already, and that's a nice knockdown in the open field on that corner route.
So it's the 4th 2 and out for Saskatchewan, 3 straight. Jamil Smith dances across the 15 and does a nice job of improving field position up to the 27-yard line. 12 first downs in the game for Henry Burris and the REDBLACKS. Only 4 for the Saskatchewan Roughriders, and the REDBLACKS continue to have their first huddle of each series on the sidelines.
And as long as they're in the field to play, tougher, I guess, for Saskatchewan's Richie Hall to check on personnel as they come out on the field. Now he's got to take a look at personnel. Meanwhile, the Riders are on the field all looking at the signal to the sideline to get their defensive call.
Running back is Jeremiah Johnson.
Timeout, Ottawa.
So the first huddle on the sidelines wasn't clear enough.
Change the play and back in for Henry Burris.
Not sure if that was a 22nd issue or not.
Well, I didn't, yeah, it could have been because I didn't see any personnel change.
First down, and they'll hand it off to Johnson. off the right side and plunging ahead across the 30. Looks like he got 4. Chad Kilgore, the middle linebacker, with the tackle.
It's been a good first half for Henry Burris. He missed a few throws, and he's looking down the field for Wallace Miles and his #1 target, Marcus Henry. I think when he goes in at halftime, they'll probably discuss using the tailbacks out of the backfield a little bit more. But a good first half on the road in hostile territory for a guy he hears it when he's on the bench over there.
Already the most points in the last 5 games for Ottawa. Burris down the sidelines, incomplete. Carlton Mitchell had a step.
Boy, did he ever. That's what I'm talking about, just missed. Boy, Burris stepped into this throw nicely, too, had a tight spiral on it, and he hits Mitchell here on the sideline, and again, he's still running. He's had a couple of these now. He's in behind Rod Williams by a step or 2. A little bit more air under it, and let Mitchell go get it. He's got a chance. Therein lies the old game of inches.
And the 39-year-old showed you his arm strength there too, didn't he?
That was stepped into that throw, absolutely.
3rd 2 and out for Ottawa. Maher gets it away, gets jostled a bit, but not enough to draw a flag. And Dressler gets outside, gets a block into the open field, and only Maher to stop him. Weston Dressler will score.
Fans are going to be upset that there's no roughing the kicker penalty flag thrown on this play. Will Ford is going to hit Maher, and Maher is discussing it with the officials. Red-black fans are saying, what about this? His foot is in the air, and Will Ford runs into him and contacts the kicker. It's roughing the kicker if the kicker's leg is still in the air. Maher looks at the official. No flag is thrown. They lose their coverage lanes, and Weston Dressler makes him pay for it. He's got a convoy in front of him. Second touchdown return on a punt return for Weston Dressler since his return to the Riders.
77 yards at a 75-yarder against Winnipeg. We saw one Friday night that was called that it looked like the kicker embellished it. And you wonder if the officials decided it was going to have to be very flagrant to call this time. Roughriders may have got away with one, but they get back in the game thanks to Weston Dressler's 77-yard punt return touchdown. Told officially a 78-yard punt return touchdown.
Great return by Dressler. Don't want to take anything away from that, but Red-black fans are saying that's not roughing the kicker. What is?
Jamil Smith trying to answer, and he'll get dragged down at the 30-yard line. Let's take one more look.
Well, I think Will Ford tries to catch Maher before he hits the ground. He kind of grabs him on the way down and tries to say, oh, sorry about that. See how he holds his arm there? But that shouldn't matter. When the kicker's leg is extended, it's roughing the kicker if he's contacted. And in the break, Rick Campbell was there huddled up with those officials trying to get an explanation as to why the penalty flag wasn't thrown for roughing the kicker.
Or contacting
the kicker.
First down, little fake, and back to Marcus Henry for another first down catch. Up at the 45, Henry with 5 catches in this first half. He had a 10-catch game against Hamilton earlier this year.
That's why a veteran quarterback like Henry Burris is so important. He knows what that momentum shift could be like, and to make that throw to Marcus Henry on first down and just say, business as usual for us, guys. We're moving the ball nicely offensively. We got time to get some points. Let's go to work. That's important for this young team.
First down, second read, and a drop. Wallace Miles dropped the football, and that has been an issue all season long for the REDBLACKS.
And no excuse for the son on this one for Miles. He's going to be in that delayed sort of dig route, gets a little bit of change motion in there, and just takes a peek down the field before he catches it and secures the football.
Second and 10 in the dim here at Mosaic. And the catch made by Jeremiah Johnson, but not going anywhere. Brian Peters, who has been starring on that Rough Rider defense for the past few weeks, with another tackle, 8th in the league in tackles coming in.
I mentioned it last week, but it bears repeating because it's so important. A guy like Brian Peters leads the team in tackles with 46. Flies to this football quickly, but he also leads in special teams tackles at 13. So he has to cover the punts, get out there and line up on defense, and then is also often used on punt return. That's very difficult.
With just under 2 minutes left in the first half, Rough Riders about to get the ball again with a chance to take the first half lead. Dressler again. Slowed up and well contained this time. Great coverage downfield. And among the tacklers was Romick and Jason Pottinger, the veteran. 9th year in the league. So Tino Sunseri has a minute 44 to work on this 5-point red-black lead.
Passing game still an issue.
And only Dressler has been able to catch a Sunseri pass in the first half. There's a different receiver, but Anthony Allen not going anywhere. Dragged down immediately by the corner, Abdul Kanay.
Now, I said after the first quarter that I thought that Tino Sunseri was looking better with his timing. In some of those first quarter throws, the timing was there, the accuracy was there, better than last week against Hamilton. Now in this second quarter, he's kind of slipped back again, playing a little bit like he did there in Ontario.
No gain for Allen. Second and 10. Here comes the pressure. Sunseri steps up. Smith underneath, and the middle linebacker, Travis Brown, will toss him down. And another 2-and-out for the Rough Riders. And Henry Burris going to get his hands on the football one more time here in this opening half.
And this time again, watch Tino here. He's got this crossing route, and if he hits Tosh Smith right now, he turns it up and gets the first down. He waits, steps up, waits for a bit, and now the defense is able to react again, slipping back into that hesitation he had against Hamilton a week ago.
4 consecutive 2-and-outs, 15 of the 21 possessions for Sunseri as a starter. Great kick. Jamil Smith back at his 34. Look out! They're going to throw it down cross field. Payton is wide open. Well, Shades, he's still going and finally pumped out. Shades of the Music City Miracle. They didn't need a miracle, but they made a big play to get back into scoring position. A 59-yard play. They were busy during the bye week.
More than ever. And it's a legal throw because it's behind. He's on the 38-yard line, and it's caught on the 37, or in between the 36 and the 37. So a legal lateral across the field. Quite the throw to get it there.
Going to get a challenge here. I'm not sure if the spotters were watching that replay that it should be, but they'll take a chance anyway and gives us an opportunity to see it again. Well, let's give the Red Blacks full marks for coming in with the full playbook today.
Saskatchewan is challenging the ruling on the field of an onside pass. We will review the play.
It didn't look like there was a question. I mean, it was thrown from the 38-yard line and caught between the 36. I mean, the front foot's on the 38, so you're 37 and a half where the ball is at. And as he follows through, he's on the 38. So
that's closer to the 36.
Yeah, and that ball's caught on the 36. That's a legal play.
Not much question. But that's not an easy play to execute. And a strike thrown from Smith to Payton.
After review, the ruling on the field has been confirmed by replay. The pass was onside. First down, Ottawa.
So 40 seconds remaining during the first half.
Time, Chris, to run the offense here. 40 seconds, lots of time to go ahead and get another first down. And have to push it twice to the end zone from this far out.
And time of possession has been a story in the second quarter. From the 21. Short drop, quick hitter, incomplete. Rod Williams defending against Carlton Mitchell.
Yeah, well defended. They had 3 receivers on either side of the formation. Carlton Mitchell was that undercut, and Rod Williams broke it up, was right in his hip pocket.
Second and 10. And the pass complete. Marcus Henry has a first down, and he's out of bounds with 31 seconds on the clock. So 6 catches, 3 for second down conversions for Marcus Henry in this first half.
You know, Marcus Henry, you mentioned he only has one play. He only has one play over 30 yards. That in the first game of the season. Not necessarily going to run by anybody, but he's a great route runner. I mean, a guy that even if he's got the man-to-man matchup and the defensive back knows he might not run by him or get deep on him, he still gets open on those intermediate routes.
174 first half passing yards for Henry Burris. They're 2 for 2 in the score zone. And Burris in trouble here. Escapes. John Chick in pursuit. Pass to the end zone. It's a touchdown.
How about Henry Burris there?
Wallace Miles with the catch. And Henry Burris turning back the clock a little bit in this first half.
Young legs. He looks like he's in his rookie year the way he's running around extending plays in this one this afternoon, throwing on the run real well. And clearly crosses the plane.
So Miles, who had a drop earlier, but has his second touchdown catch of this first half.
Huge to grab momentum like that. Put the major on the board after the special teams lateral and big play. They cash in.
So they score after a lateral. They score after a pass to a backup offensive lineman. REDBLACKS came to play this afternoon and have a 12-point lead here with 20 seconds remaining in the first half.
The East Division has come to play this weekend.
The beast from the East.
This is Burris at his best. I mean, extending the play. It looked like he was caught in the backfield by Ricky Foley. He bounces, gets some more depth, and then on the run, almost sidearm slings it to Wallace Miles, who makes up for the drop earlier on with a tough catch, contested catch, because he was covered pretty well by Weldon Brown. Henry Burris trying to quiet down that side of Mosaic Stadium a little bit, because you know they've been giving it to him on that sideline.
2 touchdown passes in the previous 6 games, 2 in the first half here today.
But you talked off the top, Chris, about the rumors that have been circulating that, you know, if Tino Sinceri isn't going to pan out as the backup here in Saskatchewan.
Hey, I love you, man. It's my family right here.
The rumor was that possibly Henry Burris could be traded back here. It doesn't make any sense for Ottawa to do that. That half of football shows you that with him at the helm, this team still has a chance. They still have hope. They're not going to trade away that hope.
Just the 3rd time this season they've scored over 20 points, the most in the last 7 games. Now, of course, they're trying to end a 7-game losing streak.
Yeah, now there's lots of football to be played. I'm not giving them the win by any stretch of the imagination here, but Now that pressure cooker turns a little bit and tightens a little bit more for Tino Sunseri.
Here's a dilemma. You've got the ball at the 41, which is pretty good field position. 15 seconds left. You're down by 12. Do you try and make something happen, or do you just regroup in the dressing room?
I think I run the ball here. I'm not sure if they're going to throw it or not, but I think I want to give Tino Sunseri anything bad.
They're going to try for something, and Getzlaf can't make the catch. Nothing wrong with the throw. And Chris Getzlaf has had injury problems of late and no catches in September.
It's been a tough year. It really has. And I talked to Getzlaf before the game. He said, you know, his back was giving him problems. His foot was giving him problems. Looked like the sun was in his eyes on that throw. I'm not giving him an alibi. Should have had it, but it's what the young quarterback needs. He needs some of those catches from his veterans to get him some confidence.
2nd and 10. Hand it off. And the run stop has been a strength for the REDBLACKS, and the faithful here at Mosaic sounding their displeasure. I'm not sure if that was the play call or the entire first half that the editorial comment was regarding.
Yeah, I think it was probably a reflection on the passing game or lack of it. And that last throw, obviously not Tino Sunseri's fault. And once again in Saskatchewan, one of the most popular players on the team is the backup quarterback. That's Seth Daggy.
So that will do it. 30 minutes in the books. And what a first half for Rick Campbell's REDBLACKS. 22-10 as we join Rod and La Police.
All right, thank you, Chris. Well, strange turn of events with the East against the West. I mean, as Glenn Suter said, certainly not handing this to Ottawa. We get another half to play, but this is the best offensive output by the REDBLACKS since week 1 against Winnipeg when they scored touchdowns on their first 3 possessions. Not a whole lot since then. Paul LaPolice in the GMC coach's playbook. They seem to save their trick plays, Ottawa does, for Saskatchewan. Remember they had that onside quick kick way back in week 6? Yeah. What about that third down gamble?
Yeah, they did a tremendous job of creating more opportunities for their offense by making plays on special teams. So let's go through the first one that led to a touchdown, which basically it's 3rd and 2. Danny O'Brien moves up. As he moves up, 2 receivers run out to the wide side, pulling 2 people outside here. So now, watch what I want you to see what happens into the boundary. You start to get 2 guys to adjust. Now, as they move over, it creates a short edge with no defenders over there. Now, watch the quarterback. You're going to see him when he does that foot move that tells the other 2 to go in motion. They come across in motion, and now they're just going to run quarterback sweep over there. They're going to take the first area available, and he's just going to dive forward for 2 yards. And what you're trying to do is have an element of surprise here. It's 3rd and 2. It's a great call because you're in. It's not going to hurt you. Here's the second one, Rod. How about this one?
Yeah, Jamil Smith over to Khalil Payton on that throwback in the punt return.
Yeah, and what you're trying to do on this is you're trying to get all the defenders to come to Jamil Smith, and then you have one guy off to the outside. You throw to him onto the boundary, and then you should have outflanked the whole defense, and that's exactly what they did.
So a couple more trick plays for Ottawa, and by the way, both of them lead to red-black touchdowns. And yes, once again, not the kind of game we would have predicted with Saskatchewan, big favorite over the Ottawa REDBLACKS, who've only won once. Well, at the half, they have a chance certainly for win number 2 with a 12-point lead. Lots more football still to play. We'll be back. Well, in Hall of Fame weekend in the CFL, Saskatchewan Roughriders also honoring 2 greats, and big fullback Chris Sarka, many great years for the Riders, and also Reggie Hunt, great linebacker with Saskatchewan, honored and inducted into the Plaza of Honor for the Saskatchewan Roughriders. Back in the half, and the Riders are trailing the Ottawa REDBLACKS, yes, by 12 points. Back with Milt and Matt and Schultze, too. And an interesting first half with a number of interesting plays, especially for the Ottawa REDBLACKS, who, as mentioned before, had so much trouble getting the offense going after week 1 when they scored in their 3 first possessions against Winnipeg. They have 3 touchdowns for the first time since in a game, Schultze, and Henry Burris started to hit stride.
Well, Rod, they're right there. I mean, for the REDBLACKS, they're executing at a better level than they have at any point in the season. Obviously, the bye has been beneficial, and all they have to do is avoid 2 or 3 negative plays, and they could easily have another touchdown. Now, Henry's had a really good game. 68% so far. He has 182 yards. That's a low throw there. You're going to see a high throw here. If he can just get his passing game a little bit bit together and just a little bit more in terms of cooperation from his receivers. You shouldn't see those type of drops, but they are right there. You can say the 10 points, Tino Sanseri not moving the ball effectively. But, hey, the Red Blacks on offense, Milt, they're playing well.
Like what they're doing on offense, but I'm even more impressed on what they're doing on defense. And right now they've given up 10 points, but let's think about it. 7 of those points came on that Dressler punt return. I've been impressed with this defense over the last month. Over the last month, 4 games, they've only given up 69 points, and that's 17 points a game. They have guys on this defense who can really play. We've been talking about Pruneau, the sound linebacker, all year long. They have some players who can play, but now they're coming together. Now they're getting some rest because that offense is producing some points and some plays. So if they can continue this up, they could possibly get back into the East and possibly get back into a playoff spot.
Matty was just talking to the coach about how Ottawa's doing some different things against Saskatchewan. They have. What's caught your eye this time?
Absolutely love it. These coaches are working overtime. You can see them in a video room just going at it, trying to use their talent and get the best out of them. And the Alex Krushnick play was absolutely phenomenal to me. And it's, again, another big man. I got to highlight his athletic ability and how he just railroads Blackledge after the set. Brackenridge, just not once but twice. Love the thought process, and they actually executed it to perfection. And here, I understand coach's problems here on this because this is contacting the kicker, and Rick Campbell just livid. He says, what are you doing? Seriously. And then how do you not see this here? How do you not see on the same play where they scored touchdown, that clip? And, 2 weeks ago, Winnipeg on the Banjo Bowl, there was a play missed on a Dressler return for a touchdown. Again, Dressler gets the benefit of some good blocking, but got away with one. And I think this football team, it could be a blowout at this point. That's how good the Red Blacks are playing at this point. But they're getting some help from their officials as well.
Well, it is interesting that Ottawa and Rick Campbell was very upset after that Dressler touchdown. They did answer back. A big punt return on their own, the throwback that we showed Khalil Payton and taking it down, setting up another touchdown to Wallace Miles, another touchdown pass for Henry Burris. His counterpart, Tino Sanseri, only 26 yards passing in that first half. Work cut out for him with his team down by 12 heading into the second. The Red Blacks with a 12-point lead at the half in Regina. Here's Milton with the stats.
Surprise, surprise, surprise. The Ottawa Red Blacks are actually up 22-10. The story has to be Henry Burris. This is the first time since 2011, September, that Henry Burris has actually ran for a touchdown and thrown a touchdown. Saskatchewan's bread and butter is their running attack. They have to get it going in the second half.
And Red Blacks head coach Rick Campbell probably thinking the lead should be greater. Here he is now with Lee Jones.
Coach Campbell using the entire pages in the playbook with the trick plays we've seen. Is that just an indication of what this game means to this football club?
Yeah, we're just doing whatever we can to give our players a chance to win. Our guys play their butts off every week, and we just want to put them in the best possible position to succeed.
Henry Burris, a couple passing touchdowns, one on the ground. Is this one of the best games you've seen from him since he's been an Ottawa Red Black?
Yeah, well, the thing that's nice today is he scrambled around and improvised and used his feet, which is vintage Henry Burris, and so we need more of that.
Thanks for this. Good luck in the second half.
Thank you.
Again, some perspective.
To 10, Ottawa with the lead before we get to the second half. Here's Lee Jones and Corey Chamberlain.
Coach, what was the message to the players considering penalties and a lot of trick plays hurting you in the first half?
You're getting your ass kicked at home. That's what it is. A good old-fashioned ass kicking. I don't know what we're waiting on to turn it up. I don't care who we play. We got to play winning football, or guys got to look for jobs.
26 yards passing for Tino Sanseri. Do you consider putting in somebody else or just continue rolling him in?
I need to change the whole team right now. We're not winning in any phase right now. So it's not just Tino. It's all three phases we're not winning.
Thanks for this.
Thank you.
Well, now, okay. Wow. Can't wait to see how the Roughriders respond because as direct as he was with Lee Jones, I imagine he was more direct with his team.
Yeah, I'm not sure there's any paint left on the dressing room walls. We'll see. See how they react.
Be an interesting second half. Maher with the kick. And on the return, it's brought out past the 35-yard line. Tough first half, though, for Sanseri, and as the coach mentioned, he had plenty of company.
Yeah, and it's not just him, but he was 5 of 9, 26 yards. Remember, he just threw just over 80 yards in his first start in Hamilton. Saskatchewan not running the ball like they have been this year either. There's Anthony Allen's numbers, 10 touches for 26 yards. They only have 51 yards rushing in the first half, and Dressler had that controversial punt return. A good return by him, but should have been roughing the kicker.
Starting at the 36, and Cesare going to air it out deep. And he overthrows the intended target. Rob Bagg by a couple of strides with Abdul Kanay in the chase position.
Bagg was open. It just got real quiet in here. Real quiet.
Second and 10. And they'll swing it out. It'll be Anthony Allen with it. Jasper Simmons bumped him out of bounds. Let's see where they'll spot it. Looks like they give him forward progress of 9 yards. It'll be 3rd and 1. And maybe 1.5 to 2. And we'll see if Corey Chamberlain's in a aggressive mood here to start the third quarter.
Nice block here to make this interesting anyway, or give the decision to Corey Chamberlain here. And the block up there by Dressler and Tosh Smith on the outside gives Anthony Allen a chance.
It is almost 2 yards. And they will send the punt team out. And it is the 7th 2 and out of the game for Saskatchewan. Had to get beyond the 46, and they marked the ball just shy of the 45.
There you go.
Jamel Smith outside the numbers and found room down the sideline. He's been close to breaking a couple here today and has done a decent job. Thought there was more available.
Good first half for Henry Burris. I love the way he's been extending plays with his legs, buying time in the pocket. Missed a few throws where the numbers could have been even better. There's that big throw to Alex Krosnick. Set up a touchdown.
.188 passing yards in his last start against BC. 182 in the first half today with Jeremiah Johnson in the backfield. Look out! Burris taken down with some venom by Tay George. 4th sack of the game for the Roughriders, and George has a pair.
Now, we've seen him do this a couple times in this game where he's kind of just moving with the slide of the offensive line, and Terrius George is just going to beat his man at the point of attack, get right in the face of Henry Burris. Now, Burris ducks. And that's why there's contact to the head. No penalty, no flag, and there shouldn't have been.
First multi-sack game for George. The 8th game he's registered a sack. The hitch is thrown inside, and Kyle Mitchell gets away but drops the ball, and the Roughriders are on it. And the defense needed that series, and Tyrod Brackenridge knocked the ball loose.
There's turnovers and there's takeaways. This is a takeaway.
Brackenridge with the big hit. And Trevor Guyton eats the football. It's Saskatchewan ball when we come back.
Boy, in that first half, we showed you Tyron Brackenridge getting hit and trucked by Alex Krosnick on that tight end play. Well, he's back and doing the hitting. Stepped into that hit. Basically tackled the football, and that's a forced fumble for number 41.
REDBLACKS have protected the football well this year. In fact, if you take away turnover on downs, they have the fewest turnovers in the league, but they turn it over here where the Roughriders make them pay. Pass is caught. Rob Bagg with the catch down at the 18. His first grab of the game. And a 20-yard pickup.
Well, here's something that George Cortez is going to file away, and that's to move the launch point for Tino Sunseri. Maybe getting him throwing on the run is going to help with his confidence and his timing, because it's a perfect throw. He finds the right guy sitting in the hole in Rob Bagg, and It's a nice throw. Offensive coordinator might want to call more rollouts for Sinceri.
Bag over 500 yards receiving. He's the top Canadian receiver in the league. And they fake the end around and wide open. Will Ford, touchdown.
You get your butt kicked at home was the message from Corey Chamberlain. If you don't turn it around, there'll be jobs on the line. His team has responded. Tyrone Brackenridge with a fourth fumble hands the ball to Tino Sinceri. His best 2 plays back-to-back as a starting quarterback here in Saskatchewan. The throw to Rob Bagg on the run, and then just dumping it out there to Will Ford for the touchdown.
So, a response from the team after the coach sent a message. And the Roughriders now within 5 early third quarter.
Formation and nice misdirection play here for George Cortez and the Riders offense. That's Corey Wattman at tight end but extended, and Tim Cronk, the long snapper, he's going to go in this direction, fake the fly sweep, and coming out of the backfield go in the opposite direction. Hold it right there is Will Ford, and he's just going to sneak through. The entire defense for the Red Blacks flows to the play, and on the backside, Ford just walks in.
There's Smith on the return. And still going up across the 40. Been a good afternoon for Jamil Smith. Will Ford's touchdown catch, his first of the year, and it's his first catch in his last 5 games.
Well, it's nice play design. We'll just show you as he catches this football coming out of that backfield and look untouched and not covered. No one within 10 yards of him can walk in there. Looked like Tino Sinceri maybe just aimed that a little bit, kind of wanted to float it over there. Didn't want to overthrow that wide open a receiver out of the backfield.
Well, you know it'll get loud now. And Burris throws a strike at midfield. And a first down. Matt Carter with the catch. 11 yards. And this is a big series for the team that's in the lead but has had trouble holding the leads they've had this year.
Nice hot throw here to Matt Carter. And Carter basically defended himself on it. Threw him right to that first down marker.
First catch of the game, just 1 in each of his last 2 starts. 4 receivers short side of the field. They come back the other way. And it's a catch for DJ Harper. And another first down to the Rough Rider 40 as the Red Blacks author a response.
When you move DJ Harper from the tailback spot out to the wide receiver position, it depends on how the defense reacts to that. He comes out here. Now that's DJ Harper, your tailback. If there's no linebacker out there covering him, then Henry Burris knows he's got a zone. He throws it in the soft spot of that zone. If a linebacker extends to him, then he knows he's got man-to-man. He probably goes to a guy like Wallace Miles in that case.
Harper's combined for 57 yards and takes the handoff to the right side. Got some blocking. And crashes down inside the 35. 6 more for DJ Harper.
This guy was born in Houston, Texas. Played at Boise State. In his junior year, he ran a 4.3 4.40. That is flat out flying. And then blew out his ACL. Make a couple-year recovery from that as they try to find a replacement for Siobhan Walker. DJ Harper's contributing.
2nd and 4. John Chick with an early jump. I think he was offside. Flags down. Burris drops it off. Ball dropped. Would have been a first down, but it looks like this is a Saskatchewan penalty nonetheless.
Interesting on
2 touchdowns and 2 drops.
I was going to say it's interesting on Wallace Miles because these easy ones where he's wide open.
Offside.
He's dropped.
Saskatchewan number 97. It's a 5-yard penalty. First down, Ottawa.
Just the 5th penalty of the game.
You know, Wallace Miles has made 2 tough catches. His 2nd touchdown catch, he had a defender, Weldon Brown, all over his back. And these ones where he's wide open in the middle of the field with space around him, he's just getting anxious and dropping it.
Henry in motion to the far side of the field. Henry Burris pulls it down and takes off, and he'll get dropped at the 24. 6 more from Burris on the ground. Brian Peters has another tackle.
Henry Burris looks locked in. I mean, he's looking like he's about 10 years younger the way he's moving around and making quick decisions.
Certainly as good as we've seen him this year, no question. Since that first quarter in Winnipeg in week 1.
And getting help from DJ Harper for sure. But he looks great.
Once again, they look at 2nd and 4. Riders show blitz. Harper got through and has another big first down run. A gaping hole off the right side.
And it was right at the blitz. They moved Chad Kilger over there. Now is Harper a little slow to get up? They're taking a look at his leg.
Harper hurt. Brian Peters shaken up. Big block provided by Marcus Henry. Looks like Peters is going to be okay, but the attention will shift to the running back.
Henry's going to come and get the kick-out block here, and there's Kilger that I talked about on the blitz, and they're going to attack the blitz, get a block from Marcus Henry, and DJ Harper hits that hole nicely. He's got a nice alley to run through right there. We'll see if he is okay after landing on that knee.
Fourth first down on the drive that started at the Ottawa 44. And again, a critical drive for the Red Blacks. Looks like Harper's okay.
He's going to be okay. Just tested it out. Make sure there's those ligaments and tendons were tight.
But he has contributed. 9 yards per touch of the football. And they're back in the score zone where they're 3 for 3 in the game. They were 6 for 18 coming in. 9th in the red zone at 33% until today. Jeremiah Johnson replaces DJ Harper. First down, Burris underneath, catch is made, touchdown, Jeremiah Johnson. And they're 4 for 4 in the red zone today.
Great route run by Jeremiah Johnson, comes cold off the bench and is the guy, the #1 target. They call the play to him, and he runs his bang route. He's in the backfield, comes out of the backfield like he's going to go to the sideline on a flat route, and then he just cuts back into the middle. It's called a bang route. He does it perfectly. 4 for 4 in the red zone for the Red Blacks.
Had a touchdown catch with the Argos, and now has his first touchdown as a Red Black. 7-play drive.
I love you, Chanel. Love you, Jordy. Family in Oregon. Happy birthday, Mama. I love it out for you. Happy birthday.
Oh, it's a bonus when you score on Mom's birthday.
Absolutely. Mom's going to get that touchdown ball, I'm sure.
7 plays, 66 yards, and an answer from the Red Blacks.
Here's Jeremiah Johnson making it look like it's a flat route like that. We've seen that many, many times. He's going to get a one-on-one matchup with middle linebacker Chad Kilger. Now watch what happens here. Kilger has to bubble around to get to him. He puts the brakes on and then comes right back into the middle. Nice route running by Jeremiah Johnson on that little bang route coming back in. Kilger cannot react in time. And Ottawa's 4 for 4 inside the 20.
It's their first third-quarter points in 5 games.
All my family in Oregon.
And the most points for the Red Blacks this season. 29-17. Tristan Jackson on the return up close to the 40. Jackson, who hobbled off on the last defensive series.
Happy birthday, Mama. That was for you. I love you.
A little slow to get up.
Birthday present for Jeremiah Johnson's mother.
Been here for just a week, but because he'd been in the Argo camp, Rick Campbell was telling us how quickly he absorbed the playbook and was ready to go here.
And it's absolutely official now. This is Henry Burris' best game as a Red Black.
Here's the fly sweep. Weston Dressler cuts it back. Up to the 44, he has 5. Well, the offense did score right after the fumble by Ottawa, but now they need to respond again.
At least with a couple of first downs.
2nd and 5. 5 receivers out. And that pass sailed over the head of Rob Bagg. No one didn't have a chance. Yeah, they're 2 and out.
Yeah, Rob Bagg was on the in route, and they had Dressler on sort of a push to the corner. Bagg's going to kind of run like this, and Dressler's like this, and the ball kind of ends up in the middle. Like Tino Sinceri was almost unsure if he should go to Bagg on that little dig there, on that little in route, or in between to Dressler, who kind of lost it.
Let's go, dog. Let's go.
Milo, a low line drive kick. And a tough hop. Handcuff Smith. He's going to let it bounce. And it turns out to be a beauty. Roughriders needed that. 65-yard bounce into the corner for Chris Milo. A lot of things have gone the Red Blacks' way today, but not that last punt by Milo. Special weekend here in Saskatchewan, Plaza of Honor, with 2 new inductees. The Canuck truck, Chris Zarka, 14 years with the Riders, and there's the Reaper, Reggie Hunt, who had that 16-tackle game against Winnipeg, and they're now on the Kieran outside Mosaic Stadium.
Still a CFL record, 16 tackles in a game. Good football players. Canuck truck and that screen pass he used to run out of the backfield. He'd give me a guarantee that he gets a yard for sure when he got the ball.
Well, that punt by Milo puts the Red Blacks in a jam. From their 1. And the pass the sidelines. That'll buy some room if he's in bounds. Carlton Mitchell got a foot down. Or did he? They're ruling incomplete.
Take a look. They ruled incomplete on the field.
Yep, the right foot taps out before the left foot, which was in, got down. That would have been a huge play, but good call by the officials on the sideline. No challenge from the Red Blacks. 2nd and 10. Burris steps up, delivers, and what a key first down and more. Well, Mitchell in the middle of the field this time. Waiting 24 yards of breathing room for the Red Blacks.
You know, the way that Carlton Mitchell's been running, he's been out for 6 games. His last action was against Edmonton. 5-catch performance that game. But the way Carlton Mitchell's been running, and he is getting open. He's been open on a couple of deep passes that Henry Burris has just missed, and I think they found a guy here.
Got away from Tristan Jackson. And now up at the 25. Short drop, inside, incomplete. Intended for Carter. Let's check in with Lee Jones.
Hey, thanks, guys. With Chris Zarka and Reggie Hunt, we saw some of their highlights as they were inducted into the Plaza of Honor Friday night. Chris was the lead blocker, so let's start with Chris Zarka. He had a lot of great memories as a Saskatchewan Roughriders, but one moment in 2009 in the Western Final here really touched your heart.
Well, it was a fantastic honor for me when I came off after we had won that, the commissioner had gone up there and given the opening coin toss, the coin, to my son sitting up in the front row. So that's something that we'll keep special in our hearts.
sure. And Reggie, you were also a 2007 Grey Cup champion. You also set a record for most tackles in a single game in 2003 versus Winnipeg, even though they game planned around you to try to stop you. For yourself, you're also known as a big hitter, the Reaper. How important was it to always send a message to the opposing team by making those big hits?
Well, you know what I learned at an early age, that playmakers make plays, and the only way you can make a play is on the ball. So anywhere that ball goes, I pride myself on being around the ball and try to make the hardest hit I can and make a play for my team. So,
any message for the Riders? What they have to do to come back in this game for the Riders?
Play good defense and put our offense in position to score. More possession wins the game.
All right, thanks for this, Reggie, and congratulations, Chris, as well, guys.
Yeah, congratulations to both those gentlemen. Stopped by the Roughriders defense, but a 24-yard catch by Carlton Mitchell, valuable. Weston Dressler, that'll be a 15-yard no-yards penalty. And so Saskatchewan's going to get the football across midfield and in red-black territory.
Reggie Hunt said they've got to get field position, put their offense in good position. That'll start with this drive right here. Boy, Reggie Hunt, one of those great adjusted linebackers.
No yards. Ottawa, number 7. 15-yard penalty. First down, Saskatchewan.
He talked about his play on the ball and how quickly he would close to the football defensively. One of those guys that he was big enough and played hard and fast enough that he was a great run stopper, but he could cover receivers down the field too. One of the great sort of hybrid linebackers in the Canadian Football League's history. One of the best at that position.
Thanks for the autograph, but mostly thanks.
They still talk about a collision between he and Jason Claremont in a Western Division playoff game. There's a catch for Rob Bagg, stretching out to the 40, and that's a 10-yard pickup.
If you needed a yard, you could bank it on giving it to Chris Sarka and letting him just pound it in there. I mean, I think his best play was that little screen pass he would take out of the backfield and then get that downhill forward momentum and just run over people.
Saskatchewan with the first down. Ottawa 40-yard line. Sinceri is able to get it around the defender to run forward. There is a flag down. Ford bounced out at the 24-yard line, so it's a 16-yard pickup, but let's check the flag. Tino had to drop down to get that around the rushing defender, but it's all for naught.
Pass interference. Saskatchewan number 88. Blocking down the field prior to a pass being complete. 10-yard penalty remains first down.
I was going to say, Chris, that hesitation by Tino Sinceri that hesitation, he got Todd Smith blocking downfield here just before he threw the football.
And it was Brandon Lang that disrupted the play, probably threw the timing off. And it results in the penalty against Smith. Back to the 50, first and 20. From the pocket, Sinceri delivers and is pulled down. Nice catch and heavy contact at the end of it. Weston Dressler has 14.
Well, he took a hit. Weston Dressler took a big hit here.
Third catch for Dressler.
Working in tandem with Rob Bagg, who made the last play. He sits in the curl. And what a hit from outside in. Canay lowered the boom on him.
Sets up 2nd and 6. Short drop, little delay, and throws incomplete. Good coverage there by Jarrell Gavins. Didn't look like anybody was available.
No, and it looked like Tino Sinceri put it in just an open spot. It looked Eddie Elder, the safety, was flying over there, and I think he had a shot at this football had he realized he might have lost it in the sun.
So the field goal unit comes on. And Milo will attempt from 43 yards out. Dressler had trouble with it. And now they got to ad-lib. Trying to get outside. And Dressler will throw incomplete. Saved a few yards. But Milo's hurt now. Josh Bartel's been injured. And now the Roughriders may be without a kicker. And suddenly a flag comes down as both teams are in the midst of changing personnel. So not sure what that's all about.
And Milo was in his forward progress to kick the football when Dressler bobbles it. And then I thought he got hit. Take a look here.
Brian Peters is the long
After
snapper.
the play, objectional conduct. Ottawa number 14. 10-yard penalty. First down.
So Kane gets a penalty after the play is over.
Watch how he goes to step and take a kick here. And Dressler got it there, but the timing was off. And then he takes the hit there from Kane.
So after all that, it's Ottawa football back at their 26. Hard to see if Milo got caught under the chin there. Looks like he's going to be okay. Josh Bartel returned to practice this week, coming off a hamstring injury, and it doesn't look like he'll be ready for a while yet.
Low snap, just bobbled, and then the timing is off on the field goal. And they hits him. I was wondering if he put his hand down. His elbow was the one that was bothering him. He landed on his elbow there. If there's an elbow injury, he could still kick.
Burris steps up, in trouble, but gets away. And Burris up to the 32-33. Ball comes out at the end of the play. But it's a 6-yard pickup, and it is still Ottawa football, although some of the fans thought Roughriders may have recovered.
Burris ties Ron Lancaster touchdown passes all time. 333 in his career for the 50,000 plus guy.
Close. They snap the ball, so no challenge, but there's a sack. Darius George gets home again.
Having problems handling him up front. The interior, Nolan McMillan, John Gott, and Michael Dean. He's taking his turns, but he is moving up the field and sliding one side or another. This time a little stunt. We get an inside rush by Guyton, and Darius George going to the backside of the formation, but it doesn't matter how they're trying to block it out. Those interior guys can't handle number 93.
Kilgore in the backfield as well. Final play of the quarter, barring penalty. Maher with the boot. Weston Dressler at the Roughrider 47, and he is swamped there. So we're through 45 minutes. Ottawa will have the wind at their backs in the fourth. And the REDBLACKS have a 12-point lead heading to the fourth quarter, looking for their first win against a Western opponent this season. After 45 minutes of play, Ottawa, by the way, has been outscored 92-32 in the fourth quarter, so it's not over yet.
Well, Ottawa is extending plays when Henry Burris is moving around. He's doing a real nice job of doing that this afternoon. I'm a little surprised that the Riders, their 7-game win streak, it was the run game offensively that was their bread and butter. They've gone away from that. 56 yards, just 5 yards rushing in the third quarter with a young quarterback. That surprises me.
Looked like the defense responded better than the offense to Corey Chamberlain's halftime discussion.
Yeah, there was the immediate response when Tyron Brackenridge caused the fumble and they went in and scored after that turnover. But got to get something going offensively, and it would be the run game where I would start.
Red Blacks looking for their first win against the Western team, their first win on the road. It was the running game that really hasn't got on track, and well, Ford will limp off.
Well, and give credit to the Ottawa defense. I mean, this was their game plan. They wanted to put Tino Sinceri in second and long situations, and they've done that. I mean, their linebacking core has played very well. Travis Brown and Jasper Simmons been on the football. But I'd still pound it if I'm Saskatchewan. That's been the way they've won.
Mark Nelson likes when his defense is facing 2nd and 9. But Dressler wide open. First down, and Weston Dressler still loose. And still going. He might score. Inside 5, touchdown. That has a play of the year potential. Yards, and he took the scenic route.
First ball got wide open. The Red Blacks dropped the coverage on this crossing route, and Dressler is not covered. You've got to cover Weston Dressler, but it's what he does after he has the football in his hands that's special. Breaking tackles, twisting and turning, a burst of speed, is not even pushed out of bounds right at the goal line.
4 Red Blacks had a shot at him, but couldn't knock him off stride. It's a 60-yard touchdown, his first receiving touchdown of the year. And the Roughriders get right back in it.
Take a look why Weston Dressler was so wide open on the play. He's got the bunch formation or some help from his fellow teammates out there, and 3 receivers. Hold it there, guys. See, they get caught up. 3 guys covering 1, 2 guys open. One of them is Dressler over the middle, and Tino Sinceri has a nice passing lane, gets it to him, and then he does the rest from there.
Bill Smith on the return. Stopped short of the 35-yard line. That's the longest reception for Dressler this season, his first 30-plus reception.
And just watch the magic after that. There's 1 broken tackle. There's 2 as he spins out of that one. Now it's a burst of speed to get him in position. 3 there and 4 right on the goal line. Highlight of the night.
Red Blacks responded to the last score, and well, they handed off left side Jeremiah Johnson. Not much there off the left side. Trevor Guyton involved once again. So a 78-yard punt return for a touchdown for Dressler, and now a 60-yard catch. Henry Burris has 3 touchdown passes, and he's run for 1. First time he's had a touchdown pass and a touchdown run in the same game in 3 years. Second down, pass is caught, and another big conversion. And once again, it's Marcus Henry.
Tyron Brackenridge in coverage on Marcus Henry, and he tries to sit on him. And what I mean by that is just hold his ground, not backpedal away from him. There's Henry there, and Brackenridge going to play coverage from inside out. He's going to step over here. Here comes Brackenridge. See how he just sits on him? And Marcus Henry just swims around him to get a little separation.
7 catches, 74 yards. Henry to Henry, and it's a first down. They throw the hitch. It's incomplete. Looks like that was right into the sun. Off target, perhaps, from Burris, who says that's on me.
As I mentioned earlier, Ottawa has been in the lead in 8 of their 10 games at one point or another. Can they hold on here?
So 9 of 11, and they've led in each of the last 5. but losing a little bit of the grip. Let's see if they can come up with a big play here, and it's over the head of Wallace Miles, who was open in first down territory.
You know, he is open, and it looked like he came out of his break a little bit late. When he came out a little bit late, maybe extended it a little too far. He was about 2 yards, just to the right of your screen. He was about 2 yards deeper than he had to be, and I'm wondering if the timing was off a little bit because he just wasn't ready to gather himself and go up and bring that one down because it was in range. Good throw by Burris. A little bit high on him, but he came out of his break late. I think he went too deep.
Maher to kick it away, 2 men back, Jackson and Dressler. They'll kick it to Jackson from his 8. And he is surrounded around the 12-yard line, a 55-yard boot. And maybe one that Jackson could have let slide into the end zone. Weston Dressler's been the big offensive weapon for the Roughriders. And they still need more plays. Down by 5.
5 for Saskatchewan, 0 for Ottawa in this one. And John Chick back on the board. He had 1 sack the last 4 games. He's got his 14th on the season here this afternoon. Here's George with 2.
We thought 3, but they've given one of those sacks to Weldon Brown. Let's see what Tino Sinceri can do. He just brought him some better field position. Rob Bagg is bounced out after a first down. Fans wanted a flag at the end of the play, but it's a 17-yard pickup and no flag.
Good choice when Tino Sinceri has got to drive off on a good start on the right foot. It's been to Rob Bagg. That's how he's got things going. Then he wants a big play. He's gone to Dressler, and that play just bailed out Tristan Jackson a little bit.
First down and a run inside. And a big one it is. Anthony Allen across the 40 has 13 more.
Tristan Jackson got that punt on the 8-yard line. And I praised him in the first half for making a good decision at letting it go in the end zone, giving up a single in a 5-point game. You let that go, give up a single. And now that the offense in 2 plays have got out of that bad field position, he feels a lot better about what just transpired.
Got an injured Red Black. It's Jasper Simmons who's been shaken up. They do have Damaso Munoz in the lineup for the first time, just signed as a free agent, and we'll check to see if it's Munoz that will come in for Simmons, who's been a big part of this Red Black defense this year. Came into the game 5th in the league in tackles with 49, and there's Munoz, who averaged over 80 in the last 3 years with the Eskimos. So he's in the line of fire at a critical time.
Yeah, 243 career tackles for Munoz. Throw in 7 sacks, few forced fumbles. Former Edmonton Eskimo. Shot with Tampa Bay and back with Ottawa and signed. And looks like Jasper Simmons now making his way to the sideline. But he's going to be okay. But for the next 3 plays at least, it's Munoz.
And the good news, Anton McKenzie is also ready to start practicing with the team. A veteran presence for Rough Rider BC Lion, who's been out with a bicep injury since training camp. Well, the young quarterback from Pitt has started to respond here in the second half. Little fake here. Got McCarty with pressure, and he'll wrap him up and take him down. There's the first sack, and it comes at a big time. 5th sack of the year for Justin Capicati in his 2nd against the Rough Riders.
Capicati has done this a couple of times here this afternoon. He's playing that edge very smart, fundamentally sound, slides down to take away a run lane again, and then gets up on that high shoulder on Tino Sinceri. Doesn't cut underneath him and lose the angle. Stays high, and he has nowhere to go.
Loss of 8, 2nd and 18. More pressure. Sinceri gets away and throws complete, and it'll be a first down. Chris Getzlaff, first catch. His first catch of September.
Well, a lot of Rider fans this week have been talking about what they want to see from Tino Sinceri, and it certainly hasn't lit it up, but they wanted to see signs of progress. And in the last couple series, there have been signs of progress. He didn't like what he saw play side, but he kept his composure, found Getzlaff out there on the sunny side on the sideline right in front of Ottawa's bench.
Going to mark him just short. Measurement shows that probably less than the length of the football away from a first down, but that's huge on 2nd and 18.
And again, remember this drive starts way back inside their own 15-yard line. They've got all that field position back. Now, even if Corey Chamberlain has to kick in this drive or this series and punt it away, you've got the field position advantage back. Lots of time on the clock.
Getzlaff now 7 yards short to 5,000 in his career. So Seth Davey in as the quarterback in the short yardage for a surge to the first down.
Signs of progress for Tino Sinceri in my mind has been his ability to throw on the run once he does get outside. I know he just got sacked by Justin Capicati, who played that well. Sometimes the defense wins, but I think when Tino's had some success, he's moving around, throwing the ball on the run a little bit. They're changing his launch points. That's helped him.
Career high was 167 yards passing against Edmonton last year. So up beyond that with a good second half. And that handoff going nowhere. Right into Brandon Lang's neighborhood for Anthony Allen.
Yeah, remember early in the first half when Sinceri ran that ride in the side and he pulled it, got the edge. I think he's going to watch this one on the video tomorrow and go, I should have pulled that one. It's a split-second decision he has to make on the defensive end and his angle of attack. And at the time, that play didn't have any chance when he handed it off.
They converted, or virtually converted on 2nd and 18. See what they do on 2nd and 14.
Hey, watch it now.
5 receivers set, but they drop. And across midfield, but short of the first down for Anthony Allen. And the punt team has to come on, and will it be Chris Milo coming on?
I talked at the quarter break, too, about the run game down for Saskatchewan. One of the reasons they may be running less is that they don't have Xavier Fulton in the lineup, no Chris Best in the lineup, Dan Clark playing guard, and Levi Adcock playing tackle for Fulton. We haven't talked about Adcock much. That's a good thing if you're an O-lineman or a DB.
Milo, line drive. Smith fields the bounce, gets the no yards. 36-yard punt, and it'll be a 5-yard no yards penalty. So the Red Blacks still have a 5-point lead. We're midway through the 4th quarter. A lot of football left here at Mosaic. Well, he's been impressive. Maybe his best game of the season.
No question his best.
But it's still on his shoulders, isn't it?
Yeah, it's in his hands. The try here for a major makes it a 2-possession game.
Little fake to Johnson, a pump, and goes further, and Henry can't reach it with the defender tight. And that's Ron Williams.
Ron Williams had his arms wrapped around the intended target here, Marcus Henry, but I don't think he turns him. So I don't think you'll see a challenge from Rick Campbell because of that. And because of how this has been ruled when it has been challenged.
Good defense.
Yeah, absolutely.
33,427 making noise at Mosaic. Downfield, and that's going to be too long for Carlton Mitchell. And it's a 2-and-out. Burris 0 for his last 4, and the 4th consecutive punt upcoming for the Red Blacks.
get the feeling 5 points is not, a 5-point lead is not going to be enough for this Ottawa football team.
Dressler and Jackson are back. Maher with a bit of a breeze behind him. Gets it up in that breeze. Dressler from his 28. Little slip there. Flag on the play. 59-yard boot by Maher.
This is going to be against Saskatchewan, push them back further. It looked like it, either that or it's the no yards, but it looked like Ottawa was okay. This is going to be an illegal block.
On the return, illegal block. Saskatchewan number 1. 10-yard penalty, first down.
It's against Marche Green.
Now
I mentioned they'll be back inside the 20.
Sorry, Chris. I mentioned that Levy Adcock playing for Fulton was a late addition. Xavier Fulton out with the flu. This guy's got a nice resume at Oklahoma State University. Consensus first team All-American. You're consensus first team All-American. You're a player. And I mentioned we haven't talked about him, and that's a good thing for two groups, offensive linemen and DBs.
Net 68 on that kick. Sinceri in trouble, but dropped it off, and it is dropped by Anthony Allen as the Red Blacks getting a little more heat. Maybe in that case it was by design on the screenplay.
When they've needed the big play, Saskatchewan has gone to number 7. When they need to get drives started in a positive way, they've gone to Rob Bagg.
Had to convert a few second and longs here in this second half. 2nd and 10. 4-man rush and time to throw, and it is Weston Dressler with a first down catch. His first 100-yard receiving game of 2014. In fact, more yards today than in his first 3 games combined.
Just playing from the shoulders up for Weston Dressler. He realizes that he just got to avoid the jam in his own defense, create a target. And Levy Adcock at tackle does his job by giving Sinceri a chance to get this ball out of there. Takes Capricotti inside. Sinceri can just float to the outside open passing lane and throw a strike.
5th catch for 110 yards. Play action fake hit, and the ball popped loose into the arms of an offensive lineman. The sure-handed play from Corey Watman that time. He's going to be ruled an illegal receiver.
Dominic Picard had problems handling his man Damaso Munoz in the middle.
Zach Evans had some pressure.
Holding. Saskatchewan number 57. That penalty is declined. Saskatchewan number 69 reported. He was eligible. Be 2nd down.
So he does get a catch, joining Dan Clark as a big offensive lineman receiver.
Look at Munoz here. He's going one-on-one on Dominic Picard, the center. He gets up there. You're right, Zach Evans over that left guard, Brendan Labatt. There's an all-star. He gets some pressure.
Of course, the catch is for -10. But when the ball's up for grabs like that, it's probably a good idea to make sure you secure it for your team.
Or bat it down.
2nd and 20. A lot of steamboats, and Allen took a look and didn't make the catch.
Bit in tough, but we've seen him make people miss. He had 2 to try and beat if he does catch this ball, and Capricotti and Jasper Simmons. Looked like Tino Sinceri had to throw it around pressure too, which may have just messed with the action. Well, that hit him right in the hands. There's no excuse for Anthony Allen there, but you'll see the 2 tacklers right in your screen.
So Milo to kick away. 43-yard boot, and here's Jamil Smith. Little juke across the 50, and up to the 53. Great field position for Henry Burris. Well, before Penguin, Catwoman, and Batman, there was Gotham. Witness the origins of the infamous city that gave birth to the greatest supervillains and darkest vigilante. Gotham, all new tomorrow at 8, 7 Central on CTV.
I think it's a coincidence that the Red Black offense has stalled a little bit in this fourth quarter. Remember, DJ Harper, who was chipping in a big way, knocked out due to injury.
Red Blacks about 20 yards from field goal range, trying to make it at least an 8-point lead. Here's Jeremiah Johnson into Saskatchewan territory, down to the 50. Kilgore the tackle, but that's 7 for Johnson on first down.
Opens a playbook for Burris here. And the way he's been running and moving around, his mobility, and the way he's been extending plays, he's got a lot of options in second and short like this.
Roughriders had a 7-game win streak in last week. Ottawa trying to end a 7-game losing streak here today. 2nd and 3. Johnson again, left side, first down, and much more. Down inside the 25, they'll mark him out at the 21. Brackenridge bumped him out, but it's a 29-yard scamper for Jeremiah Johnson.
What a great cut by Jeremiah Johnson. Once he gets the football in his hands, he gets a little running lane and a block by Jarrell McCullough. He's going to get this kick-out block here, but watch the nice cut by Jeremiah Johnson. Jermichael Dean's going to make a nice block, number 64, to seal on the second level up there. That's that block here, and that cut to bounce it. Full speed momentum. Gets outside down that sideline.
Dean back in after missing the last game against BC. They go back to that side again. He'll reverse field. Got a block from Burris. And is dragged down at the 19, but Burris in to try and make things happen.
Sort of. He got a sort of block. He was in the right spot.
I thought he was going to spring him there. Well, he chewed up some time off the clock, and we're under 3 minutes to go. Here comes Burris in for a finish.
Sort of.
Pick right here on TSN 1, 4, and 5.
Good luck to Mark Tressman in that one.
Oh, they still sort of love him here, don't they?
No. They're on him now.
Big play here. 2nd and 9. In field goal range, but they might put this to bed with a touchdown. Hand off inside, and Johnson will get tossed down. Ricky Foley the tackle. Maher in the field goal unit comes on, looking to make it an 8-point lead.
You know, a young team, young in that they haven't played together more than this year. And I know Rick Campbell is trying to sort of hang on, and I think he made that conservative play call, or their coaching staff is, because there's such a young quarterback they're facing in Tino Sinceri.
Good news for Ottawa, they've got their long snapper Kevin Scott back. He was missing, and you remember they had a chance to kick a field goal to beat BC, and they didn't execute. Scott's back in there, and
a little different weather.
That too.
BC game, yeah.
24-yard attempt for an 8-point lead.
All right, young man. You did it at Pittsburgh. The question is, can you do it at the next level? An 8-point game. The ball in your hands with just under 2 minutes to go.
Now, if it ended just like this, would you have seen enough going forward as a confidence boost for the Saskatchewan Roughriders?
Yes, you have. I think you have. You've seen the progress. You've seen some great throws. You've seen the composure. He's eliminated the mistakes so far. Don't see the interception. A couple touchdown throws. You have seen progress.
So you've got a young team that's had trouble closing. They're facing a young quarterback who would like to close this out for Saskatchewan. Going to the wide side of the field. Another catch for Gressler. 9 yards, maybe close to a first down. Fans on that far side of the field thought it was a high tackle by Abdul Kanay.
Well, I tell you what, Chris Getzlaff makes a key block here, right here. It's going to be blitz from the backside, and there's no way that Tino Sinceri has time to throw this. Jarrell Gavin's coming off the blitz, and he is picked up by Getzlaff. No pressure on Sinceri because of it.
65 yards away from where they need to be. And they'll send it to the near side. And a big play for Brett Swain. His first catch. First receiving yards in 5 games for Swain, whose biggest game came against Ottawa. 5 catches, 85 yards, and a touchdown.
And the 7th-round pick for the Green Bay Packers makes a huge one for Sinceri. And there's a nice throw on time.
18-yard pickup. An injured Red-Black defender is getting attention. And that is the corner, Kane. One of the late additions in recent weeks for the Red Blacks.
On that right calf.
I know they tried to shun the expansion label, but it just seems in any sport, expansion teams have to learn how to win and learn how to close out games. We mentioned earlier Rick Campbell in a position to win maybe 3 other games this year, haven't been able to do it.
Well, that's why I brought up that relatively conservative play call on 2nd and 8 to run the ride in the side and hand it off to Jeremiah Johnson. You're basically playing for the field goal there to make it an 8-point game. And the strategy can be that Tino Sinceri is a young guy. Is he going to be able to drive the entire field? And that's put it on the shoulders of your defense. Played pretty well against the run in this game this afternoon. So I understand that by Rick Campbell, but a team that's trying to look how to close a game out, you might want to get more aggressive there. So it's up for debate. I'm not saying it was the wrong decision.
Eric Fraser comes in at safety, and Eddie Elder, the starting safety, moves into Kane's spot on the corner. 1st and 10. Out of the backfield, the ball skips short.
That was
Anthony Allen.
I think that was tipped. Like that was tipped, or someone got their hands on that. The line of scrimmage. That looked like it died a little bit.
Another injured Red-Black defender, and it's Jarrell Gavin. So the secondary coming up with some casualties here, and this could be a potential problem for Rick Campbell's defense. They may have to move Hugo Lopez into the safety spot or onto the corner and move Eric Fraser.
My guess would be they move Eric Fraser to safety.
Well, he was there in the last play.
And then it'd be Hugo Lopez, possibly the next one to move back there. Because Eric Fraser because Lopez listed as a linebacker in the depth chart.
In behind Pruneau at the strong side linebacker spot.
And Fraser was really the only backup defensive back on the roster for Rick Campbell. So
do you move Elder off the corner now into the halfback spot? Do you move either Lopez or Fraser to the corner? But you're in a bind.
I think you leave Fraser in his safety spot if you're Ottawa, and you're going to go, and if you put Lopez in there, you put him at the wide side corner, and Elder, who's been playing the whole game, we'll see how they juggle it here.
Well, they could move Antoine Pruneau back too, and maybe move Munoz into his spot. Some options.
Pruneau, good safety.
But they've lost Kane, and now Gavin's on consecutive plays. And there's Munoz in. That group's going to have to get together to make sure everybody's on the same page.
Let's take a look at what happened to Gavins. There he is right there. Just trying to cover this out route. He just sort of collapses. Looked like his knee buckled a little bit.
So it looks like Pruneau moves to safety, and Fraser will go to the corner. Javon Johnson's moved inside, so everybody is moving around.
Yeah, and I was surprised if Saskatchewan offensively, and George Cortez, he just took a peek. I've been watching him from the sideline. He just took a peek over that wide side. and take a shot maybe at Eric Fraser.
So Fraser on the corner. 2nd and 10. On the wide side corner. Is that the way they go? Looking over the middle, and Getzlaff's got a catch. He's over 5,000 yards in his career, and he has another Roughrider first down.
So what does Tino Sinceri go? He goes right after the former Defensive Player of the Year in Javon Johnson, who's moved in at halfback and goes on that matchup with Getzlaff on Javon Johnson. Getzlaff got a nice little push, subtle push off to get some separation, come up with that catch.
Just over a minute left. Need a touchdown and 2-point convert. And they're going for the touchdown here to Todd Smith. Incomplete. Flag flies. Eddie Elder was in coverage.
He absolutely had to take a shot with all the juggling going on in the secondary for Ottawa. Saskatchewan had to take a shot deep
Pass
here.
interference. Ottawa, number 6, in goal. The first down Saskatchewan on the 1-yard line.
That's number 5, Eddie Elder, who moved from safety where he's been playing all game out to that short side corner, and he gets up in the face and in the grill of Todd Smith.
And on the grill, 31-yard penalty against the Red Blacks. 1st and goal, Roughriders on the 1. Rick Campbell wants a timeout, I think, and he went down the sidelines to get the attention of the officials.
Timeout, Ottawa.
Well, make sure they have the right personnel out there. Keith Sholigan's coming in now.
Yeah, you want the big boys in. A little surprising that they didn't have them in already.
Well, the problem is all the changes in the secondary, and now you've got your different personnel groupings. You might have lost a player, so they're trying to juggle all that. Make sure they have, first of all, 12 on the field and not too many, and the right 12 for a goal line play here.
Do they have 12?
Yep.
Here we go. 1st and goal, the handoff. Anthony Allen's in. Touchdown, Saskatchewan. And now they need 2. Here we go.
What's the play call for the 2-point conversion? Every team has specific plays.
Saskatchewan.
Saskatchewan wants to get this right with the right personnel grouping. Now, every team will practice their 2-point conversion plays, and they'll have a couple depending on the defenses that they're facing week to week.
Haven't had an overtime game this year. Is today the day? Or is today the day Rick Campbell's team wins for the first time on the road? Going for 2. And going for the tie. Getzlaff in motion. So is Allen. 6 receivers out. Sinceri back in the end zone. It's 2 for Weston Dressler.
Shown more than just progress. Now Tino Sinceri has shown that under 2 minutes he can drive the field and tie the football game up down by 8. Good composure in the pocket, and he finds Dressler right at the back line.
Dressler with 214 all-purpose yards, a pair of touchdowns. And now the biggest 2 points. 32-32.
Now there's 49 seconds. Bird's got time for 4 or 5 plays.
Jamil Smith has looked dangerous on returns today.
He has.
What kind of field position can he provide?
Milo probably squib kicks this along the ground. We'll see.
Line drive. That's returnable. 35. Decent cover. That's Sam Hurl down in a hurry because that could have been a bigger return.
You're right. That low driving kick gave Smith lots of time with it, but good coverage from the Riders, and now it's on their defense. Henry Burris has looked good throughout the afternoon, extending plays by moving around. He's got to watch the clock, but needs about 4 first downs to get the field goal range.
Tino Cesari's dad, Sal, and the Florida State Seminoles won in overtime to stay number 1 yesterday. Well, the Roughriders get a shot at overtime here. Over the middle, and the ball dropped. Would have been a first down and maybe a lot more for Jeremiah Johnson. Wow.
Comes out of the backfield right beside Henry Burris again without Banwell, and he caught it for a touchdown earlier in the game. This time took a peek upfield.
Johnson not going anywhere.
I'll tell you what, I brought it up on the 2nd and 8.
Yep.
And the conservative play call. I mean, a draw could catch him off guard. I understand that, but on 2nd and long in this situation, over just under 40 seconds, young team, you want to be aggressive to go and try and win. I mean, that's going to be debated. We'll see how this ends up, but
I didn't mind the first one, but I don't know. I didn't like that one. So Maher will run the clock down here as far as they can take it. Right down to 2. Good boot. Weston Russell. And stopped at the 17. 5 seconds away from overtime. Here at Mosaic. Would be the first of 2014. Wonder how many people thought the Red Blacks at Mosaic would turn out to be one of the games of the year.
And put 32 points on the board.
Abdul Kanay has returned for Ottawa to that secondary, so he'll be ready for overtime. And they'll just run the clock out and regroup. We might have to do it one more time. So there'll be overtime, a dramatic comeback by the Roughriders in the 4th quarter, sparked by the young gun in his first start at home, Tino Cesari, 32-32. Well, time to revisit the rules because we're going to overtime for the first time in 2014.
The maximum of 2 mini games. It'll start from the 35-yard line. You have to go for 2 if you score. And the Riders won the toss, will play defense first. Saskatchewan will have to match whatever Ottawa produces on this series.
By the way, Ottawa has won the toss only twice this year. They've lost the toss both times today, and really, this is the only time that it really is important. You'd love to be able to go last, and Ottawa losing the toss will have to go first here in overtime.
Yeah, in this format, you want to play defense first to see what, if you can stop the offense, then you're in the Riders' case, the offense knows what they have to accomplish. So it'll be Saskatchewan on D first. Burris with the football.
Ottawa with 358 yards of offense in regulation time, looking for their second win These Roughriders fans looking for second place in the West if they win. Empty backfield. 6 receivers and a pump. Burris hit as he gets it away. And it's an easy interception. And he'll run out of bounds, and now Roughriders only need a single point to win it.
Those are 2 interior defensive linemen, Terrius George and Trevor Gagnon. Another stunt up front. Little X move between the 2 of them. And they're going to cause problems and get to Henry Burris. Don't allow him to follow through on the throw.
Easy pickings for Marche Green, his first interception.
Tay George has had a monster game. Another big play.
Second turnover of this game by Ottawa. So here you can play conservative, can't you?
Absolutely. Running into field goal range.
Allen, nothing doing.
Now you want to get into
they start in field goal range.
Safe field goal range because
you only need 1. Even a missed field goal. Although then we get the punt
kick out. That's right. You can get the kick out.
So how bold does George Cortez want to be on 2nd and 10?
My guess is he runs it to Anthony Allen here.
Double tight ends.
Possibly riding the side.
A lot of people up there. And Allen crashes for 5.
Yep.
So it'll be a 37-yard field goal attempt to win for Chris Milo.
Keep it in the middle. That was another part of the decision to run the ball straight up the middle like that. And Tino Sinceri doing a good job of make sure you give it to Allen so you don't take it around the edge and get it on a hash mark. Now if Milo misses, Ottawa's got to try and get it out of the end zone. They got Javon Johnson back there with Jamil Smith. Milo misses this. Their first choice, depending on how deep the kick goes, is to run it out. The second would be if it's real deep to kick it out.
Ottawa with no blocks this year. Chris Milo for the weird tumble, and they don't get it. And Jamil Smith has a chance to kick it out, and does. They're going to kick it back in. They do. It's blocked. And unbelievably, we will go to a second round.
Let's take another look. Let's take another look. First of all, there's trouble on the hold. Again, it looked like the snap was a little bit low.
Suits, I'm a little surprised there was no yards call on the kick out.
Again, there's an issue with the hold, the snap outside. Now it's missed. Did you look? Smith step out of bounds in the back line there.
The previous play is under review by the command center.
Boy, Dressler did everything he could just to get that on the tee. That ball snapped outside and away from him.
So the question is, or among the questions, did Jamil Smith step off the back line in fielding the missed field goal? I was a little surprised there was no yards call on the kick out.
And you can't review that. You can look and see if his foot was on the line.
But what a reprieve for Ottawa if the play stands as is. So we'll take a look at the end line. Guys have been working to enhance the video. And did he step out at the back or not? Hard to tell from that.
I don't think the left leg is out of bounds. It's the right leg out of bounds.
Fans are looking at it here, and they certainly think it's definitive, but I'm not sure it is.
I don't think it is either. Tough to tell whether or not that toe is on the right stripe, and we've enhanced the picture.
I think from the angle we've got it, no matter how far we blow it up, it's not going to tell you.
It's not going to help.
I think we're going to round 2.
Remember, the ruling on the field was a legal kick by Smith out of the end zone.
Burris and Dressler exchanging pleasantries.
After review, the ruling on the field stands. There's no point scored. We have a second mini game at the other end of the field.
Corey Chamberlain's pointing at the scoreboard. They showed the same replay you saw. And if you've got the green tinted glasses, you think he did step
Ottawa
out, but
has chose to play defense for the second mini game.
Yeah, and I get that. I mean, obviously, Rider fans believe that he stepped out, but the right call was made. There's just not enough evidence to overturn the ruling on the field, which was a legal kick out of the end zone. So we go to game 2 in the overtime.
so a couple of problems on the field goal team for Saskatchewan, and suddenly the game back in the balance. And Sinceri puts it in the air, incomplete. Trying to hook up with Getzlaff. So 2nd and 10. And after missing from 37, once they get yards here, it would be a 42-yarder. Here comes the rush. Pocket collapses. Sinceri throws, and it's a catch on the sidelines, and a clutch catch by Getzlaff.
And then a couple of times, he just hides on the sideline, just sits there and waits. Again, Tino Sinceri doing a nice thing. He looked to the play side, to the wide side of the field. He didn't like that, felt a little pressure, and that pocket presence pays off here.
16 yards for Getzlaff. First down for the Riders at the Ottawa 19. Anthony Allen has 4, maybe 5.
You go to the run game here if you're George Cortez, and 2nd and a long 5, maybe 6.
They'll throw down to the goal line. Incomplete. Had a shot at it, but Getzlaff couldn't hang on. And the field goal team has to come back on for Saskatchewan.
I'm not sure why Chris Getzlaff jumped there on that layered crossing route. He's just going to come across the middle here, and he kind of jumps when the ball arrives. I'm not sure if he had to. I mean, it was a little bit high. But when he jumped, it ended up being down around his body.
So heat on this field goal unit with Brian Peters snapping. Remember, Levi Steinauer out for the rest of the year with injury. Better snap. Kick is good. So 3 in the 2nd round for the Roughriders. But the REDBLACKS have a chance to win on the road.
Brian Peters locks it in this time. He's had troubles on 2 snaps that Dressler couldn't handle. But he's money there. So Burris knows what he needs.
Henry Burris against the Roughriders, 13-11-1 in his career. He's finished once with a tie. If they score 7, they win. A field goal, we finish in a tie.
Can't take a sack.
Can't come away empty-handed. Either way, it's been a fun day at Mosaic, hasn't it? Fakes. Trouble. Can't take it down there. Tried to throw it away. Are they going to rule him down or incomplete? And you might get a challenge that he tried to throw the football.
They're ruling him down.
And that is the last thing the REDBLACKS could do.
Can't take a sack.
Well, I guess the worst thing was the interception in round 1, but the second worst thing is a loss like that.
Yeah, but this was, it's clear. It's a clearer picture. In round 2, you start in field goal range when you get the ball on the 34 or 35-yard line. So Burris can't take a sack.
What a day for Tay George. Oh, there's a jump. That'll give him 5 back. Ricky Foley jumps the gun. So that will get him 5 yards closer.
And that's big.
Offside, number 95, Saskatchewan. 5-yard penalty remains second down.
Big 5 yards because now it means that Burris is looking, that intermediate short route can get him back in field goal range at the very least. He's got to be thinking that right now, at least look at the tie.
Remember, they're going into a slight breeze here in the second round. Burris over the middle, he's got a completion. It will be short of the first down, but they get it back into field goal range. Marcus Henry has 14. So a chance to come away with a tie here. And Payton shake it up. And that's going to require attention before the field goal unit can come on.
Which doesn't help Maher. He's got to think about it that much longer now.
Under any circumstances, as a 1-9 team,
I knew you were going to ask.
Think about going 3rd and 5.
I knew you were going to ask. We have seen Ottawa, because Danny O'Brien is their backup quarterback, also their holder. We've seen them line up in field goal formation and then shift into an offensive play.
I think that was a discussion down on the sideline.
I think you're right. It was a discussion. And it's one of those great barroom debates while you're watching a football game. You're 1-9 team. Do you take a shot on 3rd and 5 because you're playing for the win, not playing for this this tie and a single point?
But they do send Maher out. With all the Eastern teams winning, you thought, if you're entertaining playoff.
Yeah, exactly. I think they did talk about it.
It will officially be a 38-yard attempt. Maher to tie the game. And it was blocked. We'll get there. And unbelievably, the Saskatchewan Roughriders are going to win it. Tristan Jackson just has to get down. 35-32. Brian Peters got his hand on the football. And somehow, Corey Chamberlain's Saskatchewan Roughriders come back to win. Another heartbreaker for the Ottawa REDBLACKS.
Corey Chamberlain ripped his team at halftime that they were getting their butts kicked at home. Brian Peters, who's had a couple of issues in those field goal snaps, comes through the middle and gets a hand on it.
Ottawa led by 12. But the fourth quarter comeback got them even. And it may be the strangest overtime we've had in the Canadian Football League. The Saskatchewan Roughriders come up with an improbable 35-32 victory. Heartbreak for Rick Campbell's crew. And the Roughriders are 9-3, second in the West. What a story from those